You're listening to This Week in America with Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody. Coast to coast, This Week in America. Great to have you with us on the program. Website, thisweekinamerica.us. The new book, Shark Assault, An Amazing Story of Survival, has received international acclaim by Peter Jennings and Nicole Moore. It's Nicole's story. She's a registered nurse who nearly died after being brutally attacked twice by a shark in Cancun, Mexico. The assault resulted in her arm being amputated and major surgeries to repair her leg. Today, Nicole inspires audiences with a breathtaking story of survival, showcasing her extraordinary positive attitude. She lives in Orangeville, Ontario. Peter Jennings is a critically acclaimed author of fiction and nonfiction books, the writer of scripts for 2 feature-length films, other film and video scripts as well. Before turning to full-time writing, he ran a successful marketing agency in Toronto. He's worked on many broadcasting commentaries, news stories, humorous narratives, commercials, multimedia advertising, and websites. He hosts a monthly TV program, Be My Guest, in-depth interviews with interesting personalities. And Peter is a singer of great American songbook standards. He lives in Muskoka, Ontario. Peter Jennings and Nicole Moore with us to discuss the book Shark Assault, An Amazing Story of Survival. Peter, Nicole, welcome to the program. Great to have you both with us on the show today.
Thank you very much, Rick. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Rick. We're delighted to be on This Week in America. Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure, and there's so many interesting things we want to talk about. The book, by the way, Shark Assault, is available at Barnes & Noble, at Amazon, wherever books are sold all across the country. Need to start by the success of this. This book has been out for a while now, a few months, but even before the first month was over, they were doing a second printing. Reader's Digest has picked it up to go into a number of different foreign countries this summer. The book, Peter, has really been successful, hasn't it?
It has, Rick. Both Nicole and I are thrilled because there were some messages we wanted to communicate. We wanted to not just tell the story about how Nicole was attacked twice by the bull shark, but we also want people to understand her amazing spirit of positivism and optimism, and that really comes across well with the book. So we're thrilled it's selling well and that people are able to learn that message.
Yeah, and there are basically 2 sections of the book, the assault, which we'll get into, and of course we'll get into the amazing story of survival. Let's start with the title, Shark Assault. It's not shark attack, and there's a reason for that. Peter explained why you used the word assault.
Well, there were a couple of reasons, Rick. Certainly as an author these days, you must have a website, and frankly, sharkattack.com was taken. But much more than that, an attack to me is kind of a single moment in time. If somebody's attacked by anyone or anything, it kind of happens and it's done. The reality is that this moment in time that happened in Cancun, Mexico, has really assaulted Nicole's life from a variety of different angles. And it seemed that it was more appropriate to think about it as a kind of an assault that went on for some time rather than a moment of time. So that's why Shark Assault became my story.
Nicole, let's go back to that day, January 31st, 2011. You're in Cancun, Mexico. They're celebrating a friend's birthday. Volleyball is a passion with you, and you just finished playing volleyball. It looked like this was going to be literally another day in paradise. Talk about what happened when you walked out in the water, a very simple act, just to get some sand off your body so you could leave.
Yeah, it was an absolutely beautiful day, and I was expecting to continue enjoying my time with my friends. But as you said, I wade into the water after a game of volleyball, and I was just rubbing the sand off my body when some guys on jet skis started yelling at me off in the distance. And I couldn't understand what they were saying to me. They were yelling at me in Spanish, and I looked around because there was no one else in the water, wondering, what the heck are you talking about? It turned out, however, that those gentlemen were private jet ski operators at the next resort over, and they had seen a pair of sharks in the shallows of the water, and they whistled out their swimmers on their beach. They were kind enough to their swimmers, however, did not pass the warning down, and these guys had got in the water to try to chase these sharks out, and instead of chasing them out, they ended up chasing them into my direction.
I was going to say, instead of helping, they really created the situation, didn't they?
Yes, they did. they were assaulting the sharks before they assaulted me. They were literally ramming the sharks to try to get them to turn out to the deep water.
Let's talk about when you felt that bump. And you say in the book, shark assault, you immediately, your heart sank because you knew something was wrong at that point.
Yes, I finally got a feeling for the guys on the jet ski that something was wrong. And so I did turn around and start to make my way back into shore. And the first thing, as you said, Rick, was I felt a bump behind me and just that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach, as I'm sure any of your listeners can relate to. When anything touches you under the water, it makes your heart sink. It makes you go into a panic mode of what was that? And I was hoping and praying it was a toddler or swimmer or something under the water that I had missed seeing, but I was not so lucky.
And you talk about, in the book of Shark Assault, an amazing story of survival, written by Peter Jennings and Nicole Moore, our guest on This Week in America. Book available at Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, wherever books are sold. Information available at our website. You can link on directly by going to thisweekinamerica.us. The website for the book is sharkassault.com. You look down and you see blood rapidly filling the area that you're in the water there. Talk about the feeling when you realize this is a bad situation.
Terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. I felt that bump, and then immediately after that bump, the shark sank its teeth right through my left upper thigh. It just devoured an entire section away from my left thigh right down to femur. I didn't know that at the time, but as you said, the ocean just started filling bright red with my blood. And although I had not seen the shark, I knew instinctively what it was. And terror just gripped me. Terror just took right over. However, that said, the very first thing that went through my mind was, sharks like blood. I need to get out of this water. So I was still with it enough, I guess, to keep my wits about me and be practical about things. And I just started to walk and trying to claw my way to shore, not realizing the damage that had been done to my leg.
The shark comes back, and you realize, and you say in the book Shark Assault, that this sort of fight or flight mode kicked in, and you punch the shark, thus releasing what your arm, I think, he had at that point. Talk about that and where that instinct came from, because you don't have time to really think this through. This really was a reflexive action.
It certainly was, and I'm really, really glad that it did kick in. Yes, I don't know where that instinct came from. Perhaps my scuba diving training, where it's eyes, nose, gills, if a shark comes at you, or if it was just survival instincts that we all have. As I said, I'm just really lucky that I had it. And I looked at this shark who had swallowed my entire arm in its mouth and didn't even think twice and hit it on its nose. And fortunately for me, it opened up its jaws and let go of my arm.
With us on This Week in America, Peter Jennings and Nicole Moore. The book is called Shark Assault, an amazing story of survival. Peter, in your research in the book, there's extensive research regarding shark attacks. And this was, for the bull shark, this was very typical, the bump and bite. This is the hunting strategy that they use.
Yes, it is, Rick. They are sight disadvantaged. And so what the bull shark does is it will come up and it will just bump to kind of see what's there, and if it senses, okay, this is something worth investigating further, we'll just put a big chomp down on it, and that's exactly what happened to Nicole. I'm sure that the bull shark that attacked her twice was doing so because of the guys who had been ramming it with their jet skis. I mean, we've got an animal that's very, very angry. And by the way, there are over 400 types of sharks in the sea. The bull shark is generally thought of by the experts as being the worst, the nastiest out there.
Nicole, you get up to out of the water, and you're looking to see what the damage is, and you know it's extensive. You've got everyone there that's over you and looking. You lost, 60% of your blood, and that was impacting your organs, correct? Yes.
So much blood loss had happened that there just wasn't enough blood left to exchange in my lungs. It's called hypovolemia, and I couldn't breathe as a result of it. I could barely talk. I was just gasping for air. And being a registered nurse, that was a very, what do you say, Peter, that knowledge is a dangerous thing. I knew that the next step after that was that my heart was going to be giving out.
You talk about during this and the ride, which is described in great detail in the book Shark Assault. During this, you wanted to go to sleep, yet you knew if you went to sleep, that literally could be a death sentence. So your knowledge really helped you in a lot of areas, didn't it?
Yes, I did absolutely contribute my profession as one of the factors for surviving. It was just that knowledge and the ability to recognize that knowledge and keep myself as calm as could be at the time. And yes, to tell people, don't let me fall asleep, keep me awake and keep fighting, because I did know that if I had gone to sleep, I would not have woken up.
You're in a foreign country, and I can remember years ago we were in Cancun, and we were walking through the downtown section as opposed to the hotel strip, and walking by a hospital and wondering just how good that hospital is. What would happen if you ended up there? You ended up being transported to that hospital. First of all, you get there, they're trying to shake you down for the money, the $700 for the ambulance visit, and then they're trying to get basically a line of credit before they even start treating you. Meanwhile, you're literally possibly moments from death.
Yes, that was absolutely shocking. And I was awake and alert and orientated throughout this entire ordeal, including up to the time when they brought me to the trauma room, where this conversation ensued about insurance. And I'm mortified because I couldn't breathe. And I'm wearing a little tiny bikini, Rick. I'm not hiding any insurance papers on me. I couldn't tell them that I had insurance, so I wasn't quite sure what they were going to do. But fortunately for me, in a very long, roundabout way, it did work out for me. And I have to laugh, Rick, because so many people want to know about Mexican hospitals and Mexican jails. They always ask about that.
Well, that's the other thing. I wasn't going to say that, but I see the police go by, and it's like, what if they decided I look like a varmint from the United States, and they're going to throw me in jail for a while?
Yeah, I was very lucky. They brought me to the right spot at the right time.
You know, it's interesting how the mind works, and you talk about that in the book Shark Assault, An Amazing Story of Survival. You're there in the bikini, which I think your father gave you, and they're ready to cut it off, and you're like, there's a little snap thing on the back. Don't cut this thing off.
Yes, it's absolutely. I couldn't believe that I was so preoccupied by such a minor thing and such a traumatic situation, but I was fighting for so long, fighting for my life for so long up until that point, trying to control my breathing, trying to stay calm, trying to stay alive, that when I finally arrived at the trauma center, I could hand over my care, my efforts to the professionals, and I could finally relax. And I felt a little safe, or a lot more safe, and I guess that's where my mind wandered. I've been thinking about my children, but boy, oh boy, I was concerned about that brand new bathing suit being cut off.
The book is Shark Assault, An Amazing Story of Survival. With us on This Week in America, Peter Jennings and Nicole Moore. The book's available all across the country. The website is sharkassault.com. You can link on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You realize you're not getting the attention you should be getting, to put it mildly, in Mexico. You end up making arrangements, and several days later, you're in Toronto. And they're changing the bandage there. And I understand what they had not done that the entire time that you were in Mexico. And they're telling you literally were within maybe a day or two of losing your life because of that.
Yes, I was shocked to find that out when my doctors reported back that if I had arrived 24 to 48 hours later, I may not be here. I was that sick by the time I got back to Canada.
Peter, as I mentioned, this book is extensively researched, and I understand your approach was to look at this, first of all, as a reporter, as a journalist, and doing a number of interviews, and then go back and assemble it as a writer. As you were putting this together, this is amazing because you're finding out two things as you're talking with people. Number one, this really never should have happened. And number two, Nicole is really, really lucky that she survived.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. I believe that writing is a very creative art, but before you get into that kind of creativity, I have to act as an advocate for the reader, and that means really being a journalist, finding out the story from the many different angles. And you're absolutely right. I mean, Nicole is very lucky to be alive, having lost 60% of her blood, having suffered these two awful shark attacks. She's very fortunate to be alive, and it was a really interesting exercise to be able to find out what had happened, why it happened, and write about it. And the one thing I should tell you, Rick, is that I don't know whether you or any of your listeners had ever been struck by a bolt of lightning. I tend to doubt it, but you are more likely statistically to be struck by a bolt of lightning than you are to be hit by a shark, attacked by a shark.
And what's amazing, and Nicole, you've pointed this out before, that mostly it's men that get attacked. It's very rare when a female gets attacked.
Yes, it turns out that since they've been keeping statistics on shark attacks in the late 1500s, that over 90% of the shark attacks are on men. Sorry, guys.
We're talking with Peter Jennings and Nicole Moore. Shark Assault, An Amazing Story of Survival is the name of the book. It's in its second printing already, doing exceptionally well all across the country and beyond. The book's available at Barnes & Noble, at Amazon. Information at the website for the book, sharkassault.com. Nicole, you've been doing a number of speaking engagements. When did you decide, and this I guess is your personality, okay, I'm going to remain optimistic here. I'm going to try to help other people, not necessarily other people that in similar situations, although you're in a shark survival group online, but go out and help people who are going through adversity in life. And you did that early in your life. You had a tumor surgery when you were 16. You were diagnosed as being dyslexic. You had some problems to overcome as a child. How did you reach that decision that, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to talk to people and I'm going to turn this into a positive message?
It kind of found me after my shark ordeal. I was thrown into the shark world, and a lot of people are so curious about this story, and they kept asking me, could you come and tell your story? You've just had such a great recovery. You have such a great attitude. And after a couple of these, I realized how, because I really don't think anything special of my story. I think I'm just an average girl that faced an extraordinary circumstance and just got through. But I realized because of how people are drawn to this, that I could use this story to help people see that they too can get through anything, that they can face adversity and overcome it just like I did.
And it's interesting. Yes,
sorry,
Peter, go ahead.
Just jump in here for a second. Nicole and I have become good friends as a result of working together on her story, but we still have one little disagreement, and that is she thinks of herself as just being a normal individual. I think she's a little bit beyond normal. In fact, I've been fortunate enough in my life and career to have met thousands of people, some of them real top-drawer candidates, and she is right up there. Her spirit of positivism and optimism is truly inspirational. And as a friend said, if Nicole is the new normal, there are millions of us out here who are screwed.
Well, it's the fact that she was out talking to people that what brought the two of you together. What, Nicole, you're giving a presentation. A friend of Peter's comes up and says, you need to write a book. And you're saying, what, I don't know a writer? And she says, well, I tell you what, today's your lucky day because I know a guy that could do this for you.
That's right. And the rest is history. Shark Assault, An Amazing Story of Survival was born.
And Peter, what are the challenges when you go to do something like this while you're respecting Nicole's privacy in areas and you're doing it not to be exploitive of this and not to sensationalize? How difficult was it, the process, being mindful of Nicole and trying to tell the story accurately?
Yeah, Rick, that's a great question. And as you've already pointed out, I interviewed many, many people for this story, but obviously I interviewed Nicole more than anybody else. And we, we probably sat through, 10 or 15 sessions. And a couple of the challenges were, early on, basically I said, okay, just like you've done, Rick, Nicole, tell me the story, tell me what happened. And then the second time we got together, I said, okay, you're a nurse, tell me what happened now from a medical perspective. And the third time we got together, I said, okay, you're a wife, you're a daughter, you're a mother, tell me from a kind of a family perspective. And I started feeling my neck saying, oh my gosh, I'm making this poor again and again. And so I finally said, Nicole, look, if you don't want to do this, I quite understand. And she said, Peter, PTSD. I have no nightmares. I'm good to go.
And Nicole, through this, you really wanted to be positive. Talk about going out and the response that you get with your message, because I'm sure when you're talking, you could hear a pin drop in the room when they're listening to your story of the attack and then the story of survival.
I get a fantastic response. Yes, you're right. It is pretty quiet. It's pretty intense in the room. I throw in a lot of humor because it can be quite an intense story. And people just seem to really, really respond to it. I love to do it, and the feedback I get in the end is great. And look at the result of the book. We're doing really great. It's quite the story to tell. I tell my children that they definitely have bragging rights.
Yes.
And you know what, Rick? I mean, I think it's a testament to Nicole that when she says she uses humor, she does. And I've been with her, and she'll kind of crack a joke or whatever, and you see this look on people's faces, oh my gosh, how can she even joke about such a thing? But that's Nicole. You know, it happened. It's part of her past. Let's move on, and there's a bright side to everything.
Well, and part of this, which I find amazing, what Nicole, you went back to Cancun, to that very beach, and you talk about the thing was maybe most distressing is what unannounced a TV news crew shows up to try to record what you're doing. But this was really important. Did this close the chapter on that in terms of fear and going back and going through this one final time, exercising it once and for all?
Yes, it did. I definitely had to go back to the scene of the crime, if you will. I was so lucky with the way that things have been going for me up until that point, without any post-traumatic stress or without any nightmares. And I thought maybe I'm holding on to something. So I went back and jumped right back into the water, which was exhilarating. Yes, caught on camera by an uninvited crew, but it was nice to have it captured on video. And the second part of the closure was, of course, to get back into scuba diving to see if I'd be able to do that. And both were very successful and very exhilarating to me. I'm very glad that I'm now back into the ocean and enjoying it to the best that I can from a distance.
A couple minutes. Yeah, Peter, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to jump in and say one of the messages that Nicole and I want to come from this book is that, as I was saying earlier about how rare this event was, lots of people enjoy swimming in the sea, and we don't want people to feel that they can't do so. Nicole continues to swim in the sea. I continue to swim in the sea, even despite having, written this book. And that's a message we want to get across to people. Don't feel you can't go swimming.
Peter Jennings, Nicole Moore, our guest on the program. A couple minutes left. Shark Assault, An Amazing Story of Survival is the name of the book. Doing exceptionally well all across the country. The book's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. At information at the website sharkassault.com. You can log on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. A couple of things, Nicole, as we're wrapping up here. Once you dealt with your personal health problems, you had to deal with the media. In fact, I think the word media assault was the word that was used again. What in the beginning, they had your name wrong? They had you as feeding the shark, and they turned on you type of thing. What was that like as you're getting an understanding of the reporting that's going on, and it's just not accurate?
The media was definitely a challenge to me. It was probably one of the worst things that I ever had to deal with. It was disrespectful. However, I understand that everyone wanted to get the story. And right now, hey, we're using it to our advantage with all of this book and publicity. So I thank all of you now.
Yeah, it's amazing. The news media now, okay, they're our friends, but if you read this and it's like, wow, they were intrusive. They were wrong. The race to get the story out there first, they were, again, inaccurate in a lot of the reporting. A minute or so left in the program. What's amazing, Nicole, is you're out there really working on conservation efforts. You talk about a movie that's out there that talks about the endangered shark. Talk about this, because this is not like a shark bit me, and I don't think we need sharks in the water anymore. You're really concerned in working on conservation efforts, aren't you?
I am trying to get as involved as I can be, because I choose to use my voice to try to protect sharks, more importantly, marine conservation. And the reason why I choose to do that is because I figure that if I, the person who has every reason to hate sharks because I'm permanently scarred and disfigured and will have permanent issues for the rest of my life because of the shark, but if I don't hate them, maybe other people that do will open their eyes to the importance of them. So I choose to use my voice to advocate for them.
And Rick, if I can just jump in,
Sure.
Wendy Benchley, the widow of Peter Benchley, who wrote Shoves, Wendy's a noted ocean conservationist, and she said to me, Peter, I am one ripple, you and Nicole are other ripples, and when we combine them with the efforts of thousands of people around the world, I know we will make big waves of change for ocean conservation. Really good words.
Yes, and you'll read more about her in the book. The book is Shark Assault, An Amazing Story of Survival. Peter Jennings and Nicole Moore. Peter, one final question before we have to wrap up the program
Sure.
here. What has this book meant to you, getting to know Nicole, not only telling her story, but getting to know her and the positive attitude she had literally is contagious. What impact has this had on you?
Well, Rick, that's a great question, and I can tell you it's been a very positive impact. I'm a changed person from having written this book and having spent time with Nicole and learning her story. And I, like anybody else, can have the odd blue day where you're feeling a little down in the dumps. But now I'll stop and say, wait a minute, what would Nicole be doing or feeling at a time like this? And it just picks me up and moves me on. It's been inspirational. It truly has.
It is an inspirational story. It's called Shark Assault, An Amazing Story of Survival. Peter Jennings and Nicole Moore, our guest on This Week in America. Their website is sharkassault.com. The book's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. Information available at the website, sharkassault.com. And you can link on directly to their website by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Peter, Nicole, thank you so much for being with us on the program. Congratulations on the success of Shark Assault, and really enjoyed having this chance to have you share your story. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was excellent.
You're welcome.
Rick, thanks so much.
You're listening to This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. We'll be right back.